Hi there, and welcome to the next episode of Stuck to Scaled, where we help you break through your bottlenecks, build the business of your dreams that gives you freedom and wows your clients. Today, we're going to talk about clients and how to get more of your ideal clients. So, the first place to start is who exactly is your ideal client? Now, most people will be starting from a place of an existing business. And that is a really, really good place to figure out who and where to market to get more of the clients that you love. So have a look at your existing database. So hopefully you're running some sort of a database to record at least some basic details about your clients. So I'm going to use as an example my beauty therapy business and how I would have gone through this process with that business so that you can kind of get an understanding of how this might apply in the real world. So we had a client base of a few hundred people. So what I looked at, or would have looked at, is I would have gone, okay, let's start from the big differences. So what gender are these clients? In that situation, because we were in New Zealand and typically women are still by far and away the most common user of beauty therapy services, that was obviously our biggest segment. So we then want to narrow it down because we don't want to throw marketing money at a segment as big as women, because with there are too many places. We would have to spend too much money to actually get enough attention on. So the next thing I would have looked at there is, okay, look at my client base. And I was running a CRM that I would have been able to run a report really easily to tell me who are our current clients, so who's actually coming in to see us on a regular basis, because that's a really important one. We don't want to be marketing to people that are only going to come and see us once, because a repeat client is a much more profitable client. So that would have been one of the ways I would have started segmenting the database to start with. I would have run the report on all active clients. So clients that have been in to see us, say, within the last 3 months, let's say. I then would have narrowed it down to who has come to see us 2 or more times, because that's going to start telling us who is a regular client. And they might just be a brand new one. So, if I wanted to be really sure, I would have gone 3 or more or something like that. I would have looked at the size of the list that I was getting down to. When you're starting out with these really big chunks of segments, you don't want to start narrowing it down too fast that you're left with like a handful. How many of these, let's get it down to how many have come to see us twice in the last 3 months. I then would have ordered that group in terms of their spend, because what we were looking for was not only great clients, but profitable ones as well. The reality of that business was very much that if we spent half an hour and we got, say, $30, then they weren't really a highly profitable client. But if we spent 30 minutes and they spent $100 with us, and that could have been they were buying some product, or they were getting a high-end facial, or they were buying a gift voucher, that's the sort of spend that we want to see. So I'm going to be ordering that list in terms of highest to lowest spend. I'm then probably going to be left with, let's say, I can't actually remember, but let's say there's 200 women in that group. So I'm then going to look at about top 20 to 30 people in that group by spend. I'm then going to start looking for what are the things they have in common. So I'm going to start looking for where do they work? What type of work do they do? I'm going to look at, do they go to the gym? Or do they shop at the same shops? Or do they go and eat out at the same places? Now, this was in a it was a city, but reasonably small city. And so generally speaking, it was fairly easy to segment like this. If you're in a massive city, you might be looking at using some different measures, but this would have worked for us, and there will be something comparable for you as well. So I would have then been looking at a list to say, okay, here are the things in common. Now, what I also at some point in this exercise want to do is to run what's called a cringe analysis. So when I look at these clients, do I cringe or am I crushing on them? Do I love them? Do I want them to come back and see me every day? Or would I rather they didn't? Let's just put it that way. So, if you're not sure what I mean, then a really easy way to tell is using the telephone test. So, if your phone rang and you looked at caller ID and the name of that client was on there, do you go, yay, I want to talk to them? Or do you go, oh, I don't really want to talk to them because I know that they'll be a bit whatever. And so it might even just be a gut reaction. You might not necessarily know why that is to start with. But the whole purpose of this exercise is to get more of your favorite clients and less of your less favorite clients. So by this stage, working through this process, if I'd done this with my beauty therapy business, I would have probably been left with a list that looked something like these women who work in professional offices around us, and they would have eaten at a certain there would have been 4 or 5 restaurants that I would have been pretty certain they would have all eaten at from time to time. And I could also pretty much say that most of them were employed by other people, or they were self-employed in professional services. So they were lawyers, or they were hairdressers, or they were, they ran admin companies. I think we had quite a few there. We seem to get a lot of medical professionals as well. I don't know why. Never figured that one out, but was quite happy with that. So I'm now left with a list that tells me where these ideal clients, and I would have also gone through and run that cringe analysis. I would have then had a list to say, okay, let's get rid of all the ones that make me cringe when I see them calling. I'm now left with this group of people who I absolutely love dealing with, who are really profitable, and I now know where they have in common. So I would also be looking at the social media sites that they would have been likely to be on. I would have looked at, are there any particular groups that they all belong to? So looking at My Life Now, I would be looking at Facebook groups for professional associations. I might look at Facebook groups for menopausal women who are in the local area. I might look at perhaps making a joint venture with some of the restaurants. So I might have said to them, hey, listen, can I give you a birthday voucher? So if you've got someone who's coming in on their birthday, then they get a little gift voucher from us at XYZ Beauty. So I would have been thinking about how can I then reach these women? So, I've just said about working with a joint venture with a company. I might see that a lot of them work in the same industry. So I might then look, okay, does their association have any publications, any newsletters, any get-togethers, trade shows, or things like that? Where are their congregation points that they are likely to see a message that I want them to see? And then that's give me a really, really good idea of where to target my marketing spend. And so it might be that you look at sending out gift vouchers. Maybe the restaurant has a mailing list that they send regularly out to their clients, and you might be able to pay to get advertising space in that. Or, as say, you might look at giving gift vouchers so that they can physically give them on the person's birthday when they come in and eat with them. Or, all sorts of areas. So you're looking for the places where your ideal client hangs out that are the same as your other ideal clients' hangouts. That will give you a really good idea of how to target your marketing to attract more of those ideal clients. So that really is kind of the main message that I wanted to get through or get across today. So if you've got any questions or want to know any more about this, please comment, like, subscribe, or reach out to us at hello@stucktoscale.com. Thanks so much.